All right, let's jump right into it. Today we're breaking down a pretty massive shift in the AI landscape. On May 5th, 2026, OpenAI quietly rolled out a brand new default model for ChatGPT, designated GPT 5.5 Instant. We're talking about a fundamental engine change that impacts how hundreds of millions of us work, research, and make decisions every single day. In this explainer, we're going to pop the hood, look at the actual operational data on reliability, and weigh the very real trust versus privacy trade-offs you need to be thinking about right now.
A quick heads up before we dive into the numbers. Everything we cover today is strictly educational analysis. We're just looking at platform updates and operational data for your daily workflows. Nothing discussed here constitutes financial advice or an investment recommendation. Okay, let's get to it.
So here's the headline news. OpenAI has officially swapped out the default engine. As of May 5th, GPT 5.5 Instant is rolling out as the new standard across the board. Now think about those three words: new default model. For most of us using AI at work, the real bottleneck isn't speed, right? It's not a lack of creativity either. The main issue is that the AI will confidently tell you things that are just totally made up. OpenAI is directly targeting that trust gap with this new engine, which is already powering millions of prompts worldwide.
And that brings us to the first huge metric stemming from OpenAI's internal evaluations. The number is 52.5. We are looking at a 52.5% drop in hallucinated claims with GPT 5.5 Instant. If you use ChatGPT to draft legal docs, pull research, or manage operations, you know hallucinations are basically a hidden tax you pay every single day. You're constantly spending valuable time double-checking the AI's fabrications. Cutting those errors by more than half? That's an incredibly bold operational claim. If this actually holds up in the wild, it completely changes the trust threshold and the ROI for knowledge workers.
Right on the heels of that is our second key number, 37.3. Their internal evaluations also show a 37.3% reduction in inaccurate claims, specifically on conversations that users previously flagged for factual errors. So they aren't just pulling from a random sample of easy prompts. They went right into the complex, messy conversations where the old model historically stumbled and frustrated people. It essentially means the model is functionally learning from its most visible past mistakes and targeting its weakest areas.
Okay, I've got to jump in here for a second. We hear these kinds of massive numbers in tech announcements all the time. But the really crucial question we have to ask is, 52.5% fewer than what baseline? A 50% improvement sounds absolutely huge, but to figure out if this is actually a real operational upgrade or just, marketing hype, we need to know exactly what this new model is being compared against.
That is exactly the right question, and the data actually maps this out really clearly. The shift is a direct comparison between the previous default, GPT 5.3 Instant, and the new GPT 5.5 Instant. You know how tech companies love to compare their shiny new release to a 3-year-old legacy model just to make the charts look dramatic? Well, this isn't that. This is a head-to-head battle with a daily driver you were probably using just last week. So that 52.5% drop in hallucinations, that represents a direct week-over-week operational improvement in actual capability.
And we need to look at where these tests were actually run. These dramatic factuality bumps were measured specifically on high-stakes prompts. OpenAI cited 3 rigorous professional domains: medicine, law, and finance. These are environments where you absolutely cannot afford a creative hallucination, right? In finance, a hallucinated decimal isn't just a typo, it's a massive liability. Showing massive improvements in these specific, rigorous fields signals that GPT 5.5 Instant is being positioned as a serious tool for serious operators.
So why does a default update matter so much to the broader market? Well, simply put, default equals policy. Let's be real. Most users out there are never venturing into their system settings to tweak temperature parameters or pick specialized engines. They just live right there in the default window. By upgrading that default, OpenAI functionally changes the behavior of the entire global platform overnight. It instantly shifts how university students learn, how we summarize critical meetings, and how entire executive teams make fast, data-driven decisions.
Practically speaking, what does this actually feel like when you're using it for daily tasks? We are moving definitively away from verbose clutter and stepping into much tighter, highly focused answers. The official release notes point out that GPT 5.5 Instant heavily cuts down on formatting noise, conversational filler, and unnecessary follow-up questions. It's just a much cleaner, more concise output. When you're trying to get focus work done on a deadline, you don't want a wall of overly chatty text. You want the pure data, clearly presented, so you can execute and move on.
The model is also taking significantly more initiative within the interface.
The new default is markedly better at autonomously deciding exactly when it needs to trigger a web search. Instead of relying on you to explicitly type, "Hey, search the web for the latest on this," the model is just way smarter at recognizing when its internal training data ends and when it actively needs to pull fresh, live information to build an accurate answer for you. I'm going to interrupt again here. OpenAI is really praising this new default for being highly personalized and incredibly context-aware. But where exactly is all this deep context coming from? Like, how is the system suddenly so much better at remembering what I specifically need without me typing it out every single time?
The answer lies entirely in its memory sources. The model is now pulling context directly from your past chats, files you've uploaded over time, and, this is the big one, your connected Gmail accounts. This is a definitive, visible shift toward deep personalization. The model isn't just answering your prompt in a generic vacuum anymore, it's actively analyzing your specific, localized ecosystem of data to tailor its response precisely to your ongoing projects and communication style. And this brings us to the core operator analysis, which is honestly the ultimate double-edged sword. On one side, you have undeniably better accuracy. That increased context absolutely makes the model smarter, faster, and more helpful for your specific job. But on the other side, you face a significantly bigger blast radius. If the model makes an error now, or inadvertently pulls the wrong detail from the wrong connected document, it could easily expose sensitive personal or corporate data right into your active workflow. It might be wrong, but with your highly confidential data attached to the mistake.
Which brings up the most pressing issue we absolutely have to discuss. What are the real governance and privacy trade-offs of this deeply connected ecosystem? Because we can't just blindly celebrate these massive productivity gains without seriously addressing this entirely new security surface area. Integrating our inboxes and hard drives changes the risk profile completely.
Spot on. To address that governance warning, operational teams must now heavily scrutinize what memory sources are active at all times. You really have to ask yourself three critical questions. Do we have control over what's connected? Meaning, can we turn off specific folders? Do we have visibility into where the context is coming from? Can we see exactly which email informed a specific output? And do we have clear mechanisms for deletion? When we purge a project, does the AI permanently forget it? When you hook up your Gmail and upload sensitive proprietary docs, you have to treat ChatGPT like an enterprise retrieval system. The prompt engineering tax might be going down, but the data governance tax is absolutely going up.
Okay, so let's get practical. Let's pivot to strictly actionable advice. If you were a knowledge worker firing up your workflow at the start of the week, how do you actually capture that 52.5% drop in hallucinations without accidentally leaking sensitive corporate data? Here is your direct, Monday morning playbook to navigate this update.
We've laid out a really clear, practical three-step policy to safely deploy GPT 5.5 Instant. Step 1. Force citations. Separate your drafting tasks from your factual tasks. If you need a factual answer, make the model prove its work. Tell it to provide direct quotes and source links before giving its summary. Step 2. Set context rules. Decide right now which files and emails are actually permitted to be connected to your account and strictly isolate highly sensitive client work completely out of the chat interface. Step 3. Measure errors. Reliability is not a vibe, it's a metric. Take 10 real tasks you do every week, run them on the new default, and measure the exact time saved versus the manual corrections you still need to make.
Before we wrap up, here are the essential timeline facts you need for your operational roadmap. If your team is still heavily dependent on building tools around the old model, heads up, you have exactly 3 months left. GPT 5.3 Instant retires in 3 months for all paid users. Meanwhile, if you are a developer looking to test the new boundaries, you don't have to wait or guess. You can integrate the new GPT 5.5 Instant model right now via the chat-latest alias in the API.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer, leaving us with one final judgment question. The hallucination drops we analyzed today are undeniably impressive, but the AI ecosystem is now vastly hungrier for your localized data to achieve those results. So, looking at your own daily workflow, would you rather have a highly accurate default model equipped with deep personal context directly from your files and emails, or a more private model that hallucinates a bit more but knows a whole lot less about you? Thank you for watching, and keep asking the hard questions.